Part 3 of Student Ministers 1931 to 1961 begins with Alfred Scipione. Alfred was a graduate of Denison University in Greenville, Ohio, and Colgate-Rochester Divinity School. While at CRDS, he served as student minister at LABC from 1943 to 1945. Following graduation, he accepted a call to serve as associate pastor at First Baptist Church, Syracuse, New York, and then moved to Tullen, New York, where he served as pastor until 1953. And it was in 1953 that Reverend Scipione accepted a call to serve as associate pastor at First Baptist Church in Columbia, Missouri. Next we have John Monroe, who grew up in Long Beach, California, and attended school there. Then he enrolled at Stanford University, graduating in 1941. After 1 year of studies at Berkeley Baptist Divinity School, he transferred to Colgate-Rochester Divinity School and graduated in 1944. While at Colgate-Rochester Divinity School, he served at LABC from 1943 until 1944. After serving in Baptist churches in Ohio and California, his ordination was recognized by the Methodist Church in the Nevada-California Annual Conference. He then served as pastor, campus minister, and district superintendent in Northern California and Reno. And in 1962, he was appointed pastor at Glide Memorial United Methodist Church in San Francisco. The Glide Church became the groundbreaking ministry with the gay and lesbian population in the Tenderloin District in San Francisco in the mid-1960s. Francis Field Fisher was born on May 6, 1915, in Washington. Francis graduated from Whatcom High School and then did college work at Western Washington College and the University of Washington, graduating in 1943. From 1943 to 1946, he was enrolled at CRDS, while at the same time doing studies at the Eastman School of Music, and it was during these years that he served as student minister at LABC from 1944 to 1946. Upon graduation, he accepted a call to serve as minister of music at First Baptist Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and by 1949 he became senior pastor at that church. And it was in that year that he suffered a tragic accident that could have ended his life. In August of 1951, he resigned his position at First to begin studies at the White Institute of Psychiatry, and at the same time he began doing some special writing and edited for the American Baptist Ministers and Missionary Benefit Board in New York City. From that time until 1959, he worked in various positions at the MMBB. Elmer West was a graduate of the University of Richmond, which was followed by enrollment at CRDS in 1947, and it was during this time that he served at LABC as student minister from 1944 to 1945. And next we have another student who studied at the University of Richmond. Jack Zuber from Churchville, New York, studied there, followed by 3 years of study at CRDS. And during that time, from 1943 to 1944, he also served at LABC as a student minister. Next, we have Robert H. Emmons, who served as LABC as student minister during his time at CRDS from 1945 to 1946. After graduation from seminary, he served at First Baptist Church in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, East Aurora Baptist Church in East Aurora, New York, and First Baptist Church of Erie, Pennsylvania. Earl Abel was born in 1924 in Baileyville, Illinois. He eventually ended up at North American Baptist Seminary in Rochester, New York in 1924 to do his college work. Having completed his college degree, he then studied at the University of Rochester, enrolling in the fall of 1946 at Colgate-Rochester Divinity School, and from 1946 to 1948, he served as student minister at LABC. He completed his education after spending 1 year of studies at Westminster College in Cambridge, England. Then his first pastorate was at First Baptist Church, Camillus, New York, where he was ordained in 1950 by the Onondaga Baptist Association. In January 1957, he accepted a call to the Noank Baptist Church in Connecticut. Then in 1959, while serving at the Noank Baptist Church, he began studies at Yale University in preparation for teaching. John, or Jack, Clements was born in 1925 in New Haven, Connecticut. He graduated from the New Haven Hillhouse High School in 1943 and graduated from the New Haven State Teachers College. And by 1947, he transitioned to the Kalamazoo College in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It was during his time at CRDS that he served as student minister at LABC from 1949 to 1950. Following his graduation and his ordination at First Baptist Church in New Haven, Connecticut, he began serving at Underwood Memorial Baptist Church in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, where he began his ministry as associate pastor of Ministry of Education. In 1953, he accepted a call as pastor of Wyoming Baptist Church in Wyoming, Ohio, and then in 1956 he resigned there to serve at Roundy Memorial Baptist Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Robert Fletcher Smith was born in 1926 in Syracuse, New York, and in 1944 graduated from the Onondaga Valley Academy. Following his graduation in 1950 from Syracuse University, he enrolled at CRDS. During his studies at CRDS, he served as student minister at LABC from 1949 to 1951. On May 4, 1952, he was ordained at Delaware Street Baptist Church in Syracuse, New York, and then by June 1st of 1952 assumed the pastorate at First Baptist Church, Pittsford, where he remained until 1957, then accepted a call to First Baptist Church, Watertown, New York. Next, we have Luther W. Smith, who grew up in Philadelphia and graduated from Denison University before coming to CRDS, where he graduated in 1953. From 1950 to 1951, he served as student minister at LABC. Next, we have Glenn Brown, who graduated from the University of the Redlands, a Baptist school, in 1951, then from CRDS in 1954, and at CRDS, he served at LABC as student minister. Then we have Donald Deere, who was born in 1929 in Terre Haute, Indiana, and baptized by his father, Reverend Roy Deere, at the First Baptist Church in Narberth, Pennsylvania. He followed in the footsteps of his father and older brother by graduating from Denison University, then CRDS, where he graduated in 1955. While at CRDS, he served at LABC as student minister from 1951 to 1952. Upon graduation, he and his wife, Barbara Sloat, were commissioned by the American Baptist churches as missionaries in the Belgian Congo, where they taught school. After many years in the Congo, they returned to time in France when he earned his doctorate, and then back to the United States. He taught New Testament at the American Baptist Seminary of the West in Berkeley, California, then spent many years on the faculty of Virginia Union University in Richmond, Virginia. They ultimately retired to Pilgrim Place in Claremont, California, where he died at the age of 93 on January 5, 2013. Richard Harris from Lynchburg, Virginia, graduated from the Georgia School of Technology before enrolling at CRDS. He served as student minister at LABC from 1952 to 1953, and then graduated from CRDS in 1955. Robert Greaves was from Los Angeles, California, and a graduate of the University of the Redlands. In 1952 to 1953, along with Richard Harris, he served as student minister at LABC and graduated from CRDS in 1955. Next, we have William Bixby from Davenport, Iowa, a graduate of Ottawa University in Ottawa, Kansas, and CRDS from 1957. And during the school year 1953 to 1954, he served as student minister at LABC. Merlin Bradley from Berrien Springs, Missouri, was a graduate of Denison University and finished his Bachelor of Divinity at Colgate Rochester Divinity School in 1956. and during the school year 1954 to 1956, he served as student minister at LABC. Next, we have Peter Lennox from Detroit, Michigan, who did his undergraduate work at Kalamazoo College. During the school year 1954 to 1956, while at CRDS, he served as student minister along with Merlin Bradley. Robert Charles Boyer was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1910. In 1941, he received his A.B. degree from the University of Chicago and an M.S. degree in 1948 at the same school. Upon graduation in 1941, he took a position at the Association House of Chicago. It was there that Cynthia Cole met Bob Boyer. The die was cast and they were married in 1950. They immediately moved to Western Lafayette, Indiana, where Bob took a position serving as the Director of Christian Education for all the Protestant churches in West Lafayette. And in 1956, they moved to Rochester, New York, where he entered Colgate Rochester Divinity School. They joined Lake Avenue Baptist Church upon arrival. Bob became student minister, responsible for young adult activities, advisor to the Sunday Night Club, and director of the community center of the church. He was ordained at LABC in 1960. After his graduation from CRDS in 1960, he accepted a call to become the associate campus pastor at the University Baptist Church in State College, Pennsylvania, where he served for nearly 25 years, and he also taught sociology at Penn State's Division of Continuing Education. In 1985, in preparation for retirement, they moved back to Indiana, where Bob joined the campus ministry at the University of Indiana in Bloomington. And in 1994, Cynthia died at the age of 68. The former members of the Sunday Night Club put together a memorial service at LABC. Next, we have Robert Freers, who grew up in Guelph, Ontario, Canada, and graduated from McMaster University. He then enrolled in the Colgate Rochester Divinity School, where he graduated in 1957. He served at LABC as a student minister during his senior year. William T. McKee graduated from New York University, coming from Brooklyn, New York. William graduated in CRDS in 1960, having served LABC as a student minister during his junior year. And finally, we have Robert Terry, who graduated from Cornell University, then entered CRDS, from which he graduated in 1963. And during his first 2 years of CRDS, 1959 to 1961, he served LABC as a student minister. It's quite possible to see through the abundance of student ministers who served at LABC from 1931 to 1961 that LABC has had and continues to have a commitment to education and ministry.